Riza Kantirakis is. There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, well, this kind of goes hand in hand with a question you had asked me
Mhm.
earlier about like how I started keeping clever or how it's been going.
Right, right.
Well, I grew up just, with my sister. So it was just the two of us. We're used to being around huge families. But
Hmm.
for us, it was just me and Alexa, and that's it. And so we grew up as best friends and sisters,
Hmm.
obviously. And then
Yeah, yeah.
um, right around the beginning of the pandemic, so 2019 to 2020, she was dating this guy, and it went very well. And right around the time that I had started keeping clever, she and this guy got very serious. And a couple of months later, he asked her to marry him.
Oh, and how did you feel?
I was so excited. I was
Okay, that's great.
ecstatic. I was already out of the workforce and I was going full throttle onto keeping clever. Um, and so I had just freshly left my job,
Hmm.
and I was just dive all of my time and my energy into keeping clever, building it, branding it, marketing it to the world. But then I realized it was only making a sufficient amount of money for sustaining myself.
Right. Hmm.
I already had the notion that I wanted to help my sister with her wedding.
Oh, okay.
So I
That's
had to
great.
step
It's another.
away.
Yeah,
It
okay.
was
Yeah, that's the reason why. Because I was following Keeping Clever for a while, and I was looking for people to guest on this podcast show, and and I said, she's quiet, and we had that schedule. I think months before Q4 last year, and then so go
yeah,
ahead. So what happened to the? So you becoming an events planner for her, is it?
pretty much. So I ended up um I was looking for any kind of part-time job that I could find. So it's like I could still kind of manage my time a little bit with
Right.
keeping clever and then also make some
Mhm.
money on the side. So that way I can put that money into her wedding. But then what ended up happening was there's this huge job shortage everywhere. Or
Oh
not
yeah,
a job shortage. It was like the jobs were full blast, but the employees were leaving because
of COVID.
they were already getting these checks. So they're thinking, okay, you know what? I don't really have to work. I'm getting these great unemployment checks. So I'm just going to stick with that.
Mhm.
But then anybody who was in the workforce was suffering for it. So I originally went for a part-time job
What is
just to
that?
kind of help out in a local old folks home. I have cooking skills. So I was like, okay, well, I can apply these cooking skills over there and I know I'd be helping someone out and I would feel more comfortable with that.
Right.
And then when I come home, because I like cooking, I wouldn't be so drained and I would still be able to apply my time and energy into KC.
Hmm.
But then I ended up spending 60 plus hours a week every week with them. And so when I came home, I was
I was
wiped
so
out. I
tired.
would just be like doing whatever for my sister, and then I would pass out. And so keeping clever had taken a little bit of a step back. I was doing some writing on the weekends or any of the days that I actually had off. I was trying to write down everything that I could that I was thinking of that I wanted to put into it.
It's great.
But
So you really write your own content, right? Or do
I
you?
do everything.
Oh, wow, amazing, amazing. So you don't have any partner on this Keeping Clever business. It's just sole you,
Mm-hmm.
100% you. Okay, great.
At the
So
moment.
yeah, why not? So um, why Keeping Clever? Why name it that way? It's catchy, by the way.
Thank you.
Very nice. It's very nice.
Well, I originally called it Keeping Clever because when I first started it, I wanted it to be kind of to help already established entrepreneurs maintain what they're doing. So
Okay.
at first, this was a complete, I don't know why I did it kind of thing, but I'm glad I tried. It
Yeah.
was e-commerce. And so I was selling items, unique items that I found would be in any way helpful to an entrepreneur. It would help them maintain what they're doing. It would help them keep clever, in a sense, at what their business was. So like, let's just say that you are you're always on your computer all the time, and you have to write down everything. You're in meetings. I was trying to find devices that would make it so it'd be easier for you, helpful for you, like the blue light glasses. Obviously, that one's always very helpful.
Oh, nice. So you're doing research as well.
I was
Very
doing a lot of
observant.
research. I found keyboards that you could stash inside of your purse, and it would laser project onto any desk. If you forgot your laptop, you could still type it out. That one actually was pretty helpful for me for a while. But then there was a time when I was helping out this one friend. He had his own business, and so we got on the phone, and then I was just helping him with answering some questions about like my own formulas for like what I do for my branding, how I promote on Instagram and stuff like that. And then he just stopped. Like while I'm talking, he's just like, "Oh my gosh." Just like, what's going on? Are you okay? Riza, you need to start doing this. What are you talking about?
You're doing something good,
right,
and you're not aware of it.
I had no idea.
You're just enjoying what you're doing. Yeah.
And he was like, Riza, you got to start like promoting yourself as a coach. You need to start teaching this stuff. And I did not want to be a coach. I felt like that would take up way too much time, and I didn't have that kind of time anymore. And I liked his idea though, because I realized this is something I'm very comfortable doing. I like knowing that I'm helping somebody in some way, but I would like to somehow do it in a more efficient way where I feel like I'm branching out and I'm getting maybe 10 people instead of one at a time. And so from there, Keeping Clever kind of diverged, and it was helping me keep clever as well. And I started to work a little bit more on these 3 pillars that I excel in, and that is branding. So I help learn how to create your own brand and market it for pennies, because I was broke when I made this. So I learned how to do everything on a dime.
Right, but this is where you earn your keep and you're enjoying what you are doing, right? So yeah.
It's my flow. Like, you found your flow, you got to work with it. You got to keep clever at it.
Correct. I know, right? That's great. I like it. I like it. You mentioned 3 pillars. What's the second pillar?
Second pillar is storytelling.
Okay.
So Alexa and I, growing up, we had this notion that we were going to be going into Hollywood or independent film companies. And so we spent years and years and years learning to tell stories and tell them efficiently. So
why don't you make your own webinar, for example? Have you thought about doing that?
I like that idea. I am curious what the audience would look like though, because I've been working on coursework. And at the moment, I'm also creating some short YouTube episodes, so I can put all this into a YouTube channel, and so people could just find it, and then hopefully it'll help them.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of doing a webinar.
Right, a webinar, and make modules, and probably if you're really not into coaching somebody because it's taking time, maybe you can just create content and let them consume it via YouTube or like a webinar so that they can earn something out of it. This is so nice. This is like a discovery call of sorts. But I'm really enjoying what you're saying, because you know that you got things figured, and maybe just because you're enjoying something doesn't mean that you cannot earn from it. And it has to be somebody out of the box to see how you can make use of what you have in store. Like, I like it when you say that you do a lot of research and you're very observant, and I think an entrepreneur should be like that, because another way of putting your creativity into the flow is really to, how can I make things work for other people? And that's exactly what Keeping Clever is about, right? It's so nice. Yeah, nice.
Yes,
I'm so excited. What's the third pillar about?
All right, the third pillar is personal presentation.
Okay.
So you know how you see somebody in an airport, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
and they're dressed in a suit, or it's a lady and she's dressed very sharply.
Yeah.
You automatically just respect that person. Like you want to give them some space, but you're kind of in awe a little bit of like how they're carrying themselves, how they're walking, what they're wearing, and stuff like that. Or on the flip side, you're something a little bit more relaxed. Like
Right.
you see
Right.
somebody who's, I don't know, walking into your coffee shop and they're completely in their pajamas,
Very comfortable.
very
Right.
comfortable.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like it's it's an automatic reaction. And the
Mm-hmm.
thing with these three pillars, with the presentation, the storytelling, and the branding, they all go together. You present your brand in a certain way. You present your stories in another way. Your stories and how you tell them, it's going to show what your brand is about, or it's going to present your business. So that's why I'm creating these three as the pillars for keeping clever. And I'm actually creating some courses right now along with that YouTube channel.
Amazing,
So,
amazing. I'm really looking forward for that. And Riza, I know that you're also very well a little bit cautious about how things are, and
mm,
I wish that you started like right away so that people can look forward to what you're up to. Maybe later on you can tell us what your social handles are, like your Instagram, your YouTube,
mm,
and your website. But I'm also curious to know if ever Keeping Clever has been in the mainstream since for a year now, or less than a year.
just about 2 years. Yep.
2 years. Okay, great, great. And then it's really full throttle last year, right? As you mentioned.
Um, well, it was full throttle from the beginning, and then last year, while my sister was
Okay.
engaged, for that
Yeah.
entire year span, that's when I had to back away because of my actual 9 to 5 job. Well, that was more like six to
Okay.
six
All right.
p.m. job, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Anyway, that's also one way to also gain and probably collect content. It is when you step a little bit and then you see what others
Mhm.
are up to, and then probably the viewers whom you are trying to attract will consume that content later on.
Mhm.
I'm curious also to know how are your friends or how they are attracting Keeping Clever. How are they getting attracted to it, and do you have a target niche for this? You mentioned entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it specifically is entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
Um, More, I would gear towards anybody who's wanting to start a business
Okay.
and they're just not really super sure what they're doing
So the startup.
or what's the first step. Yeah,
Okay.
so startups.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, I would also say anybody who wants to maybe rebrand. So if they're kind of on the smaller side, like I don't think what I know is the right fit for somebody who's already a big business or a great company or anything like
Mhm.
that, because what I'm teaching, it is a lot of DIY. So I am showing like how you can do this. Or I mean, hey, if you have a small team, you can
Mhm.
give my coursework to one of your members of your team and say, okay, learn this. This is what
Okay.
we got to do.
But can they also consult, for example, for Keeping Clever? Like, for example, they consume your content, and then they wanted to still have guidance for a team, for a small group. Who can they say assign to that specific line, branding and marketing side of things? Can they contact Keeping Clever in that case for probably mentoring or for some inputs or insights on what they're doing?
Well, I had been doing some consulting originally.
Hmm.
I've closed that since then, so it would have to be kind of a special case for me to jump onto a project like that.
Hmm.
But yes, if they wanted to contact me at all, I have all the contact information on the page on the website.
Alrighty. Are you also in Facebook or LinkedIn?
I'm on both. I've hit
Alright, great.
almost every social media. So if it's not keeping clever,
So
it's Riza
you
Kay.
Yeah, you won't miss any of her very creative contents, because I've seen your website. It's nice. It's like
Oh,
you're
thank you.
browsing a coffee table book, and it's just really there. That's why I asked if it's all you, or do you have people contributing to the content? So it's just all you.
It's all
Okay.
me. So if anything, there is a page in my resources on the
Mhm.
website where it's all coaches who I would recommend.
Yeah, okay.
Coaches who you can actually go to for one-on-one coaching, group coaching, or maybe they just even have some coursework that I think could benefit anybody. So I would put those in there. And that I want to say is probably the strongest partnerships that I have with Keeping Clever at the moment, because it's a two-way street.
Right.
They promote Keeping Clever. I promote them because I firmly believe in what they're teaching. And when I made the page, I would show it to them before I posted. What
Oh
do you
God, that's
think?
great. That's great. That's great. I like that idea. Having to help somebody and then they help you back because of the things that you actually agree on. I am also
Mm-hmm.
a big fan of outsourcing things that I am not an expert on.
Yes.
I think it's costly and it'll take time, and time is money. So if I don't know how to like project on the camera or create
Yeah.
content, I rather have someone do it for me and make it really superb so that I can focus
Mm-hmm.
on what I can do best. I like it. I like how you you do your business. What is the biggest challenge you face as an entrepreneur, aside from having to backtrack for some personal reasons? Have you identified anything at all? Like, did COVID affect at all how you make things, or because it's digital, there's really no interruption, or did you find going out because it's a little restricted at this time that you find it bad for your business, or anything that you can think of? What are the challenges that you faced?
I feel like my challenges are probably a little bit different than some others.
Mhm.
So one of my challenges, because I do have a lot of video that needs to be filmed for the coursework and then also for these YouTube channels, my biggest challenge is silence. Trying to find good silence, because I have two basset hounds and they are very energetic. And so
Wow, that's
sometimes I don't know if you're hearing them at all.
no,
I'm
no, no.
trying to
I
make
am
sure
not.
like you can't, but
Yeah.
they can be kind of loud sometimes and it gets through on my recordings.
Mhm.
So one of my things would probably be finding a good time of the day when you actually have good lighting, when you
Right.
have that silence, and then just powering it all out at once, just doing it all. And then another thing is avoiding distractions.
Yeah. How young
Distractions.
are
I'm
you? How young are you? Are
I'm
you on your mid-20s or
mid 20s. I actually just hit 25.
oh, you turned quarter of a century.
I know.
Oh, that's great.
I've got 3 more to go.
You have that there's so much to learn, and I think that
Mhm.
you have been contributing a lot to your community or your circle or your forums since the day that you started and discovered that you have talent on this or that. I'm excited. What forums are you part of, or what communities are you part of? Do you have any? Yeah,
Communities?
yeah, communities in the cyber world. Do you have any
Hmm.
um
Let's
where you
see.
stay, like you hang out?
Yeah. um okay, aside from being part of the gamer world,
Yeah.
because that's where I release my steam at the end of the day. um let's see. There is a women's group on Facebook that I would recommend to anybody. There's two actually.
Okay.
The first one is a free group. It's called Women Entrepreneurs Network or something like that.
Okay.
WNE or something. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one's it. It's very helpful. They don't ask that everybody promotes their stuff 24/7 because it's such a big group.
Yeah.
And that I completely understand and respect, because if everybody were posting as much as they wanted to, it would be nothing but a huge advertisement group.
I know.
So
Yeah.
what this one is, and I completely recommend it for any female entrepreneur who's watching, is you can join and you can ask questions. You can go on there and you can find somebody who's going through the same struggles that you are, and then maybe just watch that comment thread, and you're going to find some good answers in there you never would have thought of yourself.
Okay,
And
that's
then
great. And I think I'm
it's
part of that
wonderful.
group. I think
I'll
I'm
send you
part of that
the
group. Yeah, yeah, please do, and we'll include it here also.
link.
What's the other one?
The other
Um,
one actually is a paid group,
okay.
but I do recommend it because I learned a lot I was only in there for maybe 6 to 7 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned so much. I would go back. Actually, I
Okay.
should go back now that I think about it. And that is the Boss Babe Society.
A boss babe, yeah. I heard about
That
it as
is a
well.
very good one. So that group, they actually, because you're part of the society where they
Mm-hmm.
have, it's a membership group. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all these templates for different things. They even give you wallpapers for your phone, for your laptops, these little perk up kind of things. And
Yeah.
then you also have these ebooks that might
Mm-hmm.
help you. They give you books of suggestions, web classes, their interviews with some pretty big name
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. There is a lot you can pick up from there. And then just like the free group that I was mentioning,
Yeah.
these women, these incredible women who are also already business owners, they will go
Mm-hmm.
into this private group and they'll ask their questions about um, certain things that you can learn, or certain things that they're struggling with. And these are people who have already been in business for a little while, people who are just starting out just like we are, and they're
Mm-hmm.
also going through the same thing. So they're sharing their input, their experience, and their advice.
And I think that's the best way to learn
Mm-hmm.
as well and to network. Especially now that we're all virtual, we don't just do business via phone or email. It's really for me, it's comfortable and it's so convenient to be in a forum wherein even if they're
Mm-hmm.
off different time zone, because it's different insight that they provide you, like what you're
Yeah.
telling me now, that's already a learning experience. And I'm curious about what do you think is the most fascinating part of starting a business or keeping clever? What is the most thing that's fulfilling for you? You did mention about helping other
Mm.
people. Have you met friends in the forums that you joined? That
I
you
have.
face to face with them already? Have you
Oh
met them in
no,
person?
we
Okay.
haven't met face to face. Some of them are in other countries. Some of them are just very, very far away from me. But we have done like Zoom calls and stuff like that. And like we're still connected. And I do really appreciate them because some of them have given me some of the best ideas I never would have come up with myself. But they're the kinds
Right.
of ideas that I would love to run with. So I find that to be very fulfilling. And I would want to do something like that for someone
Mhm.
else. So kind of like that first friend that I had been mentioning early on,
Right.
that that was the Kickstarter for keeping yeah, I can't even say my own business name. For keeping clever. That was the Kickstarter for keeping clever.
Mhm.
And knowing that I had helped him
Mhm.
by just showing him what I would do on a normal day. And then
Mhm.
I'm going to be putting that kind of information and more into my courses and my YouTube channel. That right there is pretty fulfilling because I know even if I'm not seeing it, even if I'm not hearing it, at least one other person is going to have a similar reaction to him.
Right. And people
And
are
I love
watching.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't get a like on your page or on your personal timeline, people are still watching you. So even if they don't put any reaction, I'm sure that you're already helping them because of the contents that you do. And what can you advise for aspiring entrepreneurs? We both come from an
Mm-hmm.
employment experience, right? And for
Yep.
me, the employment part is really more of sticking to the schedule. You have time. The time is not yours, but you
Mm-hmm.
have the fixed salaries and stuff, the benefits, and you don't have to think about the standards that has to be placed on the job or on the work that you do. But as an entrepreneur, I have the freedom to have my own time, well, we
Mm-hmm.
don't own time, but be flexible with time and
Mm-hmm.
prioritize which activities are more value adding and not. And I think the most fascinating thing about being an entrepreneur, and this is what I will tell the aspiring entrepreneurs out there as well, listening and watching, is that when you think of something, and because I have a lot of ideas as well myself, sometimes I cannot contain. That's why I ask for forums, because I know that if people will hear the ideas that I will be yelling, probably they'll put it into action. And
Yes.
those are the things that are hindering me back in corporate, or back in the employment period
Mm-hmm.
that I had back in the day. What I tell is just go with the flow, as you mentioned, and action on the ideas that you have. And you wouldn't know
Mm-hmm.
who will you help in along the way, because there are people who might be struggling. And from your experience, you can actually tell the story as to how you arise from it, how you overcame
Mm-hmm.
it. But what are the advices that you have for new or startups or aspiring entrepreneurs?
Hmm. Okay, well, aside from action, because action speaks louder than words. So you
Right.
can say you're going to do something, but you don't do anything. You take that action, just like you said, and I completely agree with that. Another one I would honestly say is to write everything down. Like there have been ideas that I would just, let's for instance, I have this idea in the shower and then I get out and I don't even think to write it down, so I completely forget about it by the
Forget,
end of the
yeah.
day.
I know,
And
right?
then when I'm in bed, I'm like, oh, I had an idea and I know it was so good. What was it? That is a feeling I don't wish on anybody. So if you have an idea, write it down, like make a
Okay.
note in your phone, even if you haven't started yet. If you have ideas of what you want to do, just even make like a bullet list, like just a quick little list, so that way it just like jogs your memory. It's those keywords
Mhm.
that will remind you of exactly what you were thinking not too long ago. Even if you just did that, I think that would be great. And then another thing is, anytime you're doing something fun, I would recommend listening to an audiobook at the same time.
I love audiobooks. I mean, I love books because
Yeah.
of the fresh pages, but audiobooks have
But
feelings.
oh yeah.
Make me
So I
remember
mean,
the key takeaways. That's what I
yeah.
love audiobooks.
And
Maybe we should
so
share audiobooks.
I'll send you some of mine.
Great.
but
Great.
but I mean, this is something really helpful for me at least. So it's like I was saying earlier, gaming is something that I do a lot. And I know it's not the most productive thing I could be doing for my time at all.
Right. Hmm.
I could be reading a book and I love the feeling of turning the pages and like seeing how far you've gotten in the book. It's fantastic. But
Hmm.
you do still need to do something to relax yourself at the end of the day. Otherwise, you are going to burn out and you don't want that.
I
But if
know.
you also want to be
Yes.
productive, you can play an audiobook at the same time and you're learning as you're doing this fun thing or while
While
you're
on
cooking.
traffic. That's
Yeah,
actually the
while you're in
reason why I
traffic.
went to podcasting, because I wanted to, while driving, for example, well, here in the Phils, traffic is
Yeah.
everywhere until, well, pre-COVID. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I wanted to have, the conversation that very light. It's like having coffee with somebody and learning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned something about organizing your thoughts and writing it down. Do you use Evernote or Notion? What do you use usually?
Usually I will just be using my phone and then I'll take screenshots and send it to myself on Messenger and email. So that way I have it in multiple places. And then additionally, I'll use Google Docs.
Google Docs. Okay.
Originally, I was using WordNote, but then I noticed that a lot of my documents would just disappear. And I
Okay.
detested
I cannot
that
access
because
it from
there's a lot of
anywhere.
effort you put into each one, and it's like,
Right. And you
darn.
forget your passwords. I'm bad with
Yes.
passwords. I know,
Oh my gosh.
right?
I
Sometimes
no, I don't like.
So before I sleep at night, this is what I have as a tip for people who are always on the go. I record myself. Number one, this is the task that you will do first thing in the morning, and then I'll send it to
Hmm,
myself, and then I do the
there you
checklist.
go.
Yeah, end of the day. But that's great. That's great. Anything else that you would like to give a tip to other people who are probably in the same boat as you, or somebody's already there, already existing, but somehow is still looking for continuous improvement or something, a fresh insight from somebody as keeping clever.
I would just say if you feel like you're kind of in a monotonous kind of state
Hmm.
and you want to go from A to B, you want to
Right.
be moving forward, as you said,
Right.
just keep looking for it and just keep driving towards it. Because if you're thinking about it and you're feeling like you're stuck, then you probably are, honestly. Like it's not really fun to say or to hear that, but
Hmm.
it might just be a little bit of that push that you need. You just need to get over that wall and actually start looking towards it. Start talking to other people, learn what you can, look at your own experiences and what skill sets you have. Um, this is just going to be a small example for me. I felt like I had hit a wall and I didn't really know what to do. And then I was talking to some friends. I was talking to my
Hmm.
sister. I was talking to my boyfriend. And then they actually had this idea that I should take something fun and try to monetize it, something that I like to do and monetize it. And so I started to sell some of my paintings as stickers.
Wow, you paint too?
I do watercolor paintings. And so
Wow.
they had the idea. I wouldn't have
Right.
considered this, but
Hmm.
because I was talking to people and I was being honest and open
Hmm.
about how I was feeling, what I was
Right.
thinking,
Hmm.
they had this new driving idea that gave me a little bit more excitement and a little bit more of a push towards what I was doing. And so now I'm incorporating it into keeping clever, which excites me. I
Hmm.
anytime I get an order, that excites me. I'm happy. I'm overjoyed that I'm physically seeing something that I have done helping somebody else.
Right. And from what I'm
So,
getting from you, if you're a brilliant freelancer, entrepreneur, or a startup, you should be
mm,
keeping clever. You should visit keepingclever.com. I am so excited that you mentioned about you paint watercolor medium. I hope that
mm.
you can put it in your website. Maybe part of the gallery, or, the
Hey,
backdrop. I don't know what
I
your
like
water
that.
painting is, but it's so nice, and maybe you can earn also from it.
Yeah,
Merch. I'm
you're
here.
giving me great
I
ideas.
know, right? So just to recap this interview, guys, and I'm so excited for Riza for having to tell us so many things about her journey in keeping clever. There are three things as key takeaway, and those and that I took note. Okay, so have a beautiful brand for yourself, and if you don't know how, or if you don't know yet what you're good at, maybe ask people from your forums or from your friends, your small circles, who- how they perceive you as a person and your business. The second would be engage the audience by having a very well what do you call that, very meaningful content that they can use. So I'm thinking based from experience is really good content, especially if you personally undergo or underwent that certain part of your life and then learn something from it. You just have to take notes, diba? Ayun. Diba is something like, yeah. It's a Tagalog version of saying, yes, you can do that. Okay, so the third one is to really just be there and take action. So Riza, all the three things that I have key takeaway from tonight from Manila time and the morning in Michigan. Yes, I I am very happy that we have this conversation, and I hope our viewers and our listeners in the Secured and Happy Lifestyle podcast also learn something from this episode. So please have your social handles mentioned so that we can also put that in our narratives here in the podcast.
Mm-hmm. All
Go ahead.
right. So my personal handle will be at Riza Kay. That's Riza Rizakay. And then for my business, Keeping Clever, that is at keeping.clever.
Okay. And you are also in YouTube, right? LinkedIn, and your website is.
Yes. So my website is keepingclever.com. And then I would actually just recommend you go straight there and then you can find all of the social links. It'll just make things so much easier for you.
That's great. That's great. We look forward to you, Riza, and we wish you more ideas and more people to help. And I hope that keeping clever will go a long way. I thank you so much for taking this call, even if it's too early there where you're at. And
It's
I am
not a
happy to
problem.
finally met you. So for those who are watching and listening on this YouTube or podcast, please drop a line, a comment, or maybe you can download and share this episode with your friends, and follow us in Facebook page Coach Ayed. We also have it in YouTube and in Spotify and Apple Podcast. Until next time, bizmates, and this has been Coach Ayed. Thank you, and may we all have a secured and a happy lifestyle.